Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Veil. Today, we hear from David Oakford, who had a life-changing near-death experience after a drug overdose at 19. What he saw on the other side changed his entire perception of life, energy, and the universe. This is his story.
Okay, I'm David. My experience was in 1979 when I was 19 years old. I was in a really bad place back then. I was in with the wrong people. It was a group of us that hung out together. We did gang-like stuff. I grew up in the south end of Warren, Michigan, which borders Detroit, and it's really a bad neighborhood. It was bad when I was there, and 40 years later, it's still bad. But anyway, I needed to get out of there. I wanted to get out of there, and I wanted to move somewhere out west. I didn't want to live where I was living anymore because I knew I was going to have even more problems if I didn't leave. So I thought, I got ready to leave. I saved money. I got everything packed and everything. And then I thought, well, I'll just hang out with my friends one more night. We'll just have one more party with them. There's only just one more. Okay. Well, we drank beer all day and smoked weed all day. And then come the evening, I wanted something that was a little more. So I asked my friend, I had a friend who could get me anything. And I asked him to go get me something more. So he went out and he came back and he gave me this brown rock. It was kind of like sandstone. Well, I believe now it was probably early crack cocaine. He told me what it was, but all I heard was the cocaine part. So I said, okay, well, I crushed it up and then I snorted it. Well, you can't snort crack cocaine. And my friend saw what I did. And he said, you're going to die. You did enough it's going to kill you. And I laughed at him. I said, oh, okay, I've done all kinds of drugs and everything. And, nothing has hurt me yet. And it only cost me $15. How bad could it hurt me? That was my thought. Now, remember, I was 19 years old. I didn't know anything from anything. And then we went outside and I had beer outside. We were out in the front yard. And I started to get really dizzy. I didn't want to fall down, so I sat down. And that didn't work either, so I laid down on the grass. And the next thing I remember was I had this out-of-body experience. I was in a car with my friends, and we drove around the block. We drove past my parents' house, which is only 4 houses away from where we were. And I got scared. I didn't want them to see me, so I remember I ducked down in the car. I saw other things too. I saw a glow around everything. And I saw these little beings that were in the trees and in the bushes. I saw them like out of the corner of my eye. And then when I turned and looked at them, they vanished. But there was one who was there. He was a little bigger than the rest of them. He was male. He had these colorful clothing on. And he looked at me. He looked at me right in the eye. And he gave me a big smile. And I didn't know what to think about that. That ended, and I woke up in this chair in his family room. Now, the family room was all decked out. It was a great party room. It had real loud stereo in it and everything, and places to crash on the floor if you needed to crash there. Wake up in the chair, and I heard sounds coming from my body. Kind of sounded all together. They kind of sounded like a bell, but I could hear each part of it and all at the same time. And I felt those starting to go away. They went away one by one. I think there was something like 7 or 8 of them, and I didn't hear them anymore. It was just silence. And the next thing I know, the music was playing loud, way loud. And I love loud music. I'm a rocker, still am. But it was way too loud for me. It felt like it was cutting through me. I felt pain. So I got up. I was going to turn the stereo down, but I couldn't touch the knob, the volume knob. I couldn't touch it. And so I tried to unplug it, but I couldn't touch the plug either. I couldn't take it. So I called out for my friends and nobody came. Tried to go around the house and look for them. Somehow I could see all the rooms just by thinking about them. And there wasn't anybody in that house that I could see. I started to freak out. And I found myself in the kitchen. I was trying to get into the family room, it was the next room, and I couldn't move. I could barely move. I tried to walk, it didn't work. I tried to crawl, that didn't work either. But somehow I made it back into the room, and I saw my body laying there in the chair. And if I was freaked out before, I was doubly freaked out at that. I got really scared because I remembered what I did, and it looked like I was in some big trouble. So I freaked out, started screaming. I didn't know what to do, and I thought about, well, they say prayer works. Well, why don't I pray? So I prayed. I said, God, I really messed up this time. I really need your help. The next thing you know, there was this spirit by the door. He was floating, and he was just his colors. He was just his aura. And he slowed down, and he appeared to me as a person, only he had dark curly hair. He had like dark eyes, and he said to me, lips didn't move, and I kind of felt what he was saying. And he said that he was there to help me. So, and he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, well, I want to go outside. I got to get out of this house. Okay. Well, the music started to fade away, and he said, okay. And the next thing you know, we were out in the driveway outside. We didn't go through the door. I didn't know how we got out there, but I was out. And then the spirit, I call him Bob, just because he needs a name. I can't say, my friendly spirit a million times, but he told me that he knew everything about me. And then he told me things that I only thought of when I was like 3 or 4, never mentioned to anybody. And he knew things that happened. He knew about the divorce my parents got, which got me into the house I was in. He told me, he showed me things like, well, I had this funny Uncle Eddie. He showed me him, and all the stuff he showed me, nobody else could have known. I never said it to anybody, but he knew. So he proved to me that he knew me. So I trusted him. And then he said, we can go wherever we want to go. Where do you want to go? I thought of the 7 wonders of the world. Why don't I go see those? Let's do that. He said, well, I can show you some of them. And he laughed too. And then I said, well, what about the pyramids? And the next thing you know, we were at the pyramids. We were in Egypt. And I could see the pyramids when they were new. And I could see the pyramids in the current time. I could see the cities the same way. And I asked them how I could see both times at one time. And he said that's how it worked. He said it was something about the energy of the planet and how it transfers to the universe and back. It was something like that. The pyramids had something to do with that. He explained to me some other things too while we were there that I really wish I could remember. When we got to Egypt, on the way there, it was there like just in a blink of an eye, we were there. When we left Egypt, I wanted to go slow so I could see everything. And I told him I wanted to go slow. So we got about as high as the space shuttle flies. I could see that there were places that were like the pyramids under the ocean. And there were other natural places too in the oceans and on land that had this energy going to them. They were like exchanging the energy from the universe and the planet. The planet uses it and then returns it back to the universe. I didn't know anything about that, and that was a real surprise to me. So we kept going, we kept flying, and I could see the countries, I could see the land masses, and I could see where there was really good energy, really nice, colorful and bright energy, and then there was the darker energies around where the cities were. And so we kept flying, and he explained a little bit about it to me. And then I found myself, we were heading for the West Coast, for California. And I saw the cities there too. And in the United States, the energy was different than it was in the other countries. It was wild. It was totally unique. He showed me the Grand Canyon. I saw that, and that was awesome. I saw it when I was a kid, but it was nice to see it again from above it. So I could see all the cliffs and everything and all down to the bottom of the canyon. I thought that was really cool, and the energy there was really good. We kept going, and I saw these streaks of light, like me and Bob were. We were streaks of light, and we saw other spirits that were like Bob, and they were taking spirits like me somewhere. I didn't know where then, but I could see that the energy for the spirits like Bob was just like Bob. It was really, really strong and colorful, and it felt right. I saw other souls too. I call them the dark souls in my book. I really wish I would call them something else, but I can't really find a word to describe them. And what they are is they are humans who have passed that have not gone to the light. And there's a lot of reasons why they wouldn't go to the light. Some of the reasons were they don't know about the light and nobody came to help them, or they know about the light, but they want to stay here anyway because they're afraid of it. or they just like it here. They want to be here and they don't want to go anywhere else. And spirits like Bob help spirits like them. And he was helping me, so I was kind of like a dark soul. And he explained about the energy, and he said that spirits like him help spirits like me. After seeing the energy of the spirits, the energy of the planet and everything, and how cool most of it was, I wanted to see the planet from a different view. I wanted to be able to see the whole planet all at once. I saw the energy, I saw the aura of the planet, and it looked awesome. It looked blue like the pictures, but it was also other colors. And it was blue, and then it changed to reds and greens and whites, and it just looks so beautiful. Bob told me that the planet has a name, and its name is Gaia. He said that we humans are hurting Gaia. We're not living in harmony with her. And yeah, she's a female. She's a spirit too. And we weren't treating her right, and it was hurting her energy. And I was concerned about that because I saw how beautiful it was. And I couldn't believe that we would do something like that. We weren't living in harmony. I was concerned about it. I was concerned about the planet. Bob said it was right for me to be concerned. I saw the planet on the planet. I saw the planet off the planet. And I thought about, what about the stars? What about those? What's their story? He said that we could go see one. He said, pick one. I just pointed at random. I pointed to this. It looked like a star was there. But when we were going to it, we went past all of the planets in our system, and they had their aura just like Gaia does, and they had cities of spirit on them. I could see where there were spirits that were living there. And I asked Bob, I said, how come we can't see those? And he said, well, that's because your vibration isn't high enough. Your vibration is high right now because you don't have a body. And that's how you can see everything. So we went by, and they made noise just like Gaia does. And after we got past them, we went back going fast again, and we got to the place that I thought was a star. Well, it looked like a star from far away, but I don't think it was a star. It was circular, and it seemed like it was sucking things in, kind of like a black hole. But I looked at it, and in the center, there was like a blue color, like a sky blue color on the other side of it. I wanted to go in it. That's where I want to go. I still want to go in it. But Bob said that he wants to make sure that I'm ready for what's there when I go there. He wants to make sure I'm ready first. So I didn't know what to do. And I thought, who made all this? Everyone says God made all this. Is that true? He says, you have a different idea about what God is. What God is actually is the energy of everything, the energy that's in everything. Everything is a part of God. He said, you are a part of God. I am a part of God. The planet's a part of God. God is not a human. He's not a person. And he doesn't judge you. He just is. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, okay, that makes more sense to me than a God that's going to punish you or send you to hell or whatever. Okay, it made more sense, and I like that. So I asked him, I said, well, okay, I had a wrong idea about God. What about Jesus? He said, well, Jesus is an ascended master, and there are other masters that are like him. Then this white light came, and it surrounded me. I was like in the middle of this white light. And then a figure appeared to me, and he looked just like the picture of Jesus I saw in this Lutheran school that I went to for 2 years. I felt like great. I felt like I was somebody, and I was worth something. And he only said one thing to me. He said, tell them to love one another and all will be well. Because he picked up on my concern about the planet and everything and about the people on it. Then he left. And that's all he said to me was just that one thing. And I felt really great. I felt like I was a part of something. And after he left, I saw all of the planets in a line. I could see all their auras, and I could hear them. They were all together, and they sounded like a bell, just like my body did, just like Gaia did. And it was like, it wasn't a ting, but it was the ringing of the bell after you ting it, like ting, and then I thought, wow, how do I get to see this? It was just so awesome. It was the best thing I ever saw. And it made me feel like I was worth something. It made me feel that they are giving me this. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. But it was just so awesome. It's probably the prettiest part of the near-death experience that I had. So after that, I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't think of where I wanted to go. And then Bob said, I know a place we can go. So we flew past all the planets again, and we went to this place that was close to Earth. I could see Earth from it, and I could see the spirits like Bob and like me going to the place. And so we got there and came down into this like town square type of a place, and there was a big house on my left side, and there was this big building on the right side. Well, Bob took me into the house, and I saw one of the 4 different rooms in it, and I saw 4 different spirits. They knew me, but I did not know them, and they were concerned that I was there. So I saw them, and then Bob and I went out, and then we went into the big building. In the big building to the left, there was this wooden bench that glowed. All the wood there glowed. All the buildings were white, and they were framed with wood, and all the wood glowed for some reason. And then to my right, there was these double doors. So me and Bob were in there, and Bob told me to sit on the bench, and he said he has to go in. So he went in through the double doors. He was in there for a while, and while I was sitting on that bench, I started to have a deja vu, like I was there before. And then I started to see the reasons why I was there before. So I did something in Egypt when I was a kid there that hurt people. I was sitting there. I was almost to the point where I was going to find out what it was exactly that I did when Bob came out of the room. And then Bob said, it's your turn to go in. Don't be afraid and be honest if they ask you questions. So I get in a room, and it's a paneled room. All the wood was glowing. It was like a horseshoe type of a table. And there was these spirits sitting around the table. There was like I don't know, half dozen of them. And I recognized one of them from the time I was there before. And I got scared because I did not have a good thing with him. He was an enforcer or whatever. So they started to show me my life. And they didn't show me every little thing that I did every time I kicked a dog or whatever. You know, they showed me things that made me into what I was. Like, remember Funny Uncle Eddie? They told me about Funny Uncle Eddie. They told me about my mom and dad. They showed me that I picked them so that I could help them on their path and go on mine. Well, they showed me other things too. They showed me my first drink. What happened was I was in the garage, and the family was having this wedding reception at the house, and all the booze was in the garage. Well, I was in the garage, and then my older stepbrother told his friend, he said, let's see how good David can handle his liquor. See if he can handle it like a man. Well, I was 9 years old, and I said, I want to be a man. I didn't know it wasn't the right thing to do. I thought it was okay. So my brother gave me this bottle of whiskey, and I slugged it down like it was a can of Coke on a hot day. I just slugged it down, and then I got really drunk. And that's how I started drinking. And I wanted to, and the bad part about it wasn't him having me drink. The bad part was I liked it. And that was the bad part. And that's one of the reasons why I kept drinking for as long as I did. They show me Uncle Eddie, and they show me what happened with him and me. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail. They also show me, just interspersed in between it all good things, fun things that I did when I was a kid before I started hanging out with the gang. It was really great. It was like riding mini bikes and hiking and going up north and doing all kinds of good stuff. I mean, we had our fads. I mean, we decked out our bikes, and, you know, it was all good, fun stuff that they showed me too. And it was just interspersed between the bad stuff. And then it got to the point where I was coming up on what I did, current time or whatever you want to call it. And then they asked me, did you have a more positive life or a more negative life? What do you think? And I wanted to say positive because I knew that if I was positive, that they would let me stay there. But when those beings talked to me, they talked to me just like Bob did. It was just a telepathic thing. And I thought about lying to them, and they picked up on that. And then they said, well, you have to decide what you're going to do. You could stay here if you want to, or you can go back to the planet if you want to. Well, I wanted to stay. So I started to argue with them. Wrong thing to do with that group. I found myself outside in this garden. There was a stone bench there, a white stone bench, and there was all these flowers and everything. And there was a river that was off to the distance. So I was sitting there by myself, and I started thinking about, well, what can I do? I need to find a way. And I started thinking all about me. I wanted to stay there. Then Bob came, and he asked me what I was going to do. I told him, well, I want to stay. He said, well, you got to think about it first. So I asked him, I said, well, what's going to happen if I go back? And he said, you're going to get married soon. Your wife is near, and you're going to have children. And one of those children is going to be way different than the others. And I'm supposed to be there for him and the others. And then he said that I would have problems with jobs. Said I've had problems with my health. He told me bad things that were going to happen to me. I still wanted to stay there. So I asked him, well, when will I go back? He said, I can't tell you. So I started asking him leading questions like, well, where am I going to be living when I die? That kind of thing. He showed me where I would be living, and it's basically the area where I live in now. He also said that I would have a brown dog for some reason. I ended up having a brown dog, but I don't know why he told me that. He said that I was going to have a hard life when I go back. He said, just how it's going to be. So I thought about it, and I thought, why am I thinking about me? What about my kids? What about my wife? I was so far away from getting married, but she was there, and there was somebody there for me, and somebody was going to want me. And I was going to go back, and I told him. He said, well, okay, there's something we have to do. So got up, we floated over to this river, and he told me that the river cleanses you from things that you can't share. Then he told me that I was to share my story, and he touched me on what would have been my lips. So I dove in the river, I came out the bottom of it, and I was in space again. And I saw this glitter trail. And I followed the glitter trail down, and I got to the area where I was living. I wasn't quite at the house, and I'm thinking, look what I can do. I can move like this. I can see everything. I can understand stuff. I want to go see more things. And then I thought, oh, yeah, there are dark souls out there, and there are souls that will try to waylay you into something, and you could end up being stuck like them. So I decided that I wasn't going to do that. Got to the house, and I watched the sunrise, and the sun made noise too. And it was beautiful. I had all this new stuff, and I had a brand new day, and I wanted to share everything with everybody right away. So I went back in the house, but I didn't go through the door. I realized that I could just go through the house to get in it. So see my body laying there, and I didn't want to do it, but I kind of laid on top of it, and I got into my body. It was like a little pop sound. And so that was in my body. So I made sure that everything worked, fingers, nose, toes, that kind of thing. Just, make sure that I could hear, that I was complete. I wanted to make sure that I was complete, and I was. So I got up out of the chair, and I immediately started trying to tell my friends. Well, they were all passed out on the floor from drinking the night before, and I woke them up. Bad thing to do. And I started telling them, and they said, oh, you're crazy. All you do is overdose on drugs. And so I started trying to tell them more, and then they said, stop your crazy talk. So I left there. I went home. My dad was up, and I thought about telling him, but he was getting ready for work, and he wouldn't have time to even listen to it, and I don't even know if he would even want to hear it. So he left. Then I tried to tell my mother. My mother didn't want to hear it. She told me, she said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know. It's like, okay, well, couldn't tell her. And then anybody I tried to tell that day, it was just a drug overdose. So I had nobody to tell. Nobody would listen. So I went home. I finally got to sleep, and I had this dream. There was this voice trying to talk to me, and it was saying things about my future and about just the future in general. And he told me that a friend of mine would die in a drunk driving accident. And he named the friend and started telling me all this stuff about the future. And at that point, my vibration was low because it got all taken away by everybody who was dissing me. And I didn't trust him. I didn't see him. I heard him, but his voice was different. And I didn't know what to do. So I just said, I don't want to know about any of this stuff. And then he left. I thought that I was hearing voices. And back in the 70s, you hear voices, you tell a doctor or something, they're going to put you in a mental institution. So I didn't want to tell anybody about it. And then about 3 months later, after the experience, I went back to going to the roller rink and hanging out with the friends I grew up with. Well, I'm on my way to the roller rink. I'm walking, and here comes my friend in his car. He said, you want a ride? I said, sure, I'll take a ride. Well, he went by the liquor store on the way to the roller rink, and he got a fifth of Southern Comfort. He was going to drop me off at the rink, and on the way there, I warned him about it before. I told him, I said, dude, do not drink that in your car and drive. go to a party somewhere, go stay there and drink it there. Do not drive. I told him point blank. And you know what he said? He said, stop your crazy talk. And that's the last thing he ever said to me. 3 hours later, he was dead. Wrapped his car around a tree, and the friend that was with him was never the same after that. He had a head injury, I guess. But after that, I believed that the experience was real. I firmly believed that. And I didn't want to tell anyone. I was afraid to try to tell anyone. So I didn't tell anyone. I got married. We had 4 kids. I told my wife the whole thing before we got married. I mean, she had to be good with it before we got married. Otherwise, I wouldn't have married her. But I told her about it. And she said, yes, those things happen. And she believed me and everything. So she was the first one to believe me. And after that, I didn't tell anybody until 1998. I couldn't throw away all the knowledge that he gave me. It gave me about energy and what energy is and what it's for and how we can use it. And it was just about energy, and it was about God. That's how I understand what he is. But that was that. I started to share the experience in 98. I wrote down what I could remember. I shared it with somebody. They shared it with somebody else. It ended up on a big near-death experience website. A lot of people read it. I got emails from people, with questions and thank yous and all that stuff. And it made me take my time and write the rest of it down because I knew people were interested in it. And what I wrote for that website, that's the base for my book. And I just expanded on that. And now my book is out there. It's called Soul Bared, A Metaphysical Journey. It's only on Amazon. If somebody wants to buy it from me, they can email me. I'll either sell it to them or I'll give it to them. I will not hesitate to give this experience away. It's too important to try to monetize it. That's really not what my goal is. My goal is to help other people understand the world of spirit and make their lives a little different, make their lives better, and they could make all of this better.